Welcome to Miss Scarlett, the place to be feminine. Subscribe and enjoy. The office was buzzing with the usual morning chatter as I entered. I felt the familiar weight of my briefcase in my hand and the crispness of my dress shirt as I made my way to my cubicle. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting an unnatural glow over the sea of partitions and the myriad of computer screens that adorned them. Coffee cups and half-eaten bagels sat alongside piles of paperwork, the remnants of another busy day in the life of an accountant. "Hey, Dan, good morning!" I turned to see my colleague, Jim, approaching with a smile. "How was your weekend? Did you finally get that round of golf in?" "Yeah, the weather held up," I replied, setting my briefcase down and booting up my computer. "Got a few holes in before the rain came pouring down." "Nice! Say, did you hear about the new client we landed? Some big-shot finance firm? The partners are going to be all over this one." "No, I hadn't. That's great news, though. More billable hours for us, huh?" I quipped, knowing all too well the long hours that often accompanied such high-profile clients. As I settled into my morning routine, I couldn't help but feel a sense of monotony creeping in. I enjoyed the work, but there was no denying that the routine could sometimes feel a bit stale. Little did I know that my life was about to take a turn that would change everything. "Good morning, Dan." I turned to see my boss, Miss Johnson, standing at the entrance to my cubicle. Her presence demanded attention, and her sharp eyes seemed to see right through me. "Good morning," I replied, a little taken aback by her sudden appearance. "How can I help you?" "I have a special project in mind for you, Daniel," she said, her voice smooth and calm. "I think it's time we shake things up a little." "Oh?" I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Miss Johnson was known for her unconventional methods, and I found myself curious as to what she had in store for me. "I want you to take on a new role, Daniel," she continued, stepping into my cubicle and closing the flimsy partition door behind her. "A role that will challenge you in ways you never imagined." "Okay," I said slowly, a sense of unease creeping into my voice. "What did you have in mind?" "I want you to become Danette," she stated, her eyes never leaving mine. "Daniel, what?" I sputtered, unsure I had heard her correctly. Miss Johnson smiled, a hint of amusement flashing across her features. "Danette, I want you to become our newest accounting assistant. And to do that, you're going to have to learn a few new tricks." "You want me to be an accounting assistant?" I asked, my confusion growing. "But I'm already an accountant." "No, Daniel." She cut me off, her voice gentle but firm. "I want you to become Danette. I want you to experience the challenges that women in the workplace face every day, and to do that, you need to look the part." Realization dawned on me, and I felt my eyes widen. "You want me to dress up as a woman?" Miss Johnson smiled softly. "Exactly, Daniel. I want you to embrace your feminine side and see the world from a different perspective." I sank back into my chair, my mind reeling. "But why me? I mean, I'm flattered, but isn't this a bit extreme?" "You, Daniel, are my best accountant," she stated matter-of-factly. "Your attention to detail, your dedication, and your talent are unparalleled, but I sense a restlessness in you, a desire for something more, and I think this experience will benefit you in ways you cannot even imagine." I ran a hand through my hair, trying to process her words. "But how am I supposed to just become a woman? I mean, where do I even start?" "Leave the details to me, Daniel," Miss Johnson said, her voice reassuring. "I will provide you with everything you need. All I ask is that you trust me and embrace this transformation wholeheartedly." "But what about the other employees? Won't they find this a little unusual?" Miss Johnson's eyes sparkled with a hint of mischief. "Oh, they may raise an eyebrow or two, but I've already prepared them for your new role. And besides, a little shake-up is good for the soul, don't you think? I couldn't help but smile at her enthusiasm. Miss Johnson had a way of making the most outrageous ideas seem not only feasible, but also exciting. "All right, Miss Johnson," I said, sitting up straight and squaring my shoulders. "I'm in. Let's do this." "Wonderful!" she exclaimed, clapping her hands together. "I knew I could count on you. Now, let's get started with your new wardrobe, shall we?" Miss Johnson wasted no time in transforming me. That very afternoon, she escorted me to a nearby boutique, the click of our heels on the pavement in synchrony. The bell above the door jingled as we entered, the scent of perfumes and fabrics washing over us. "Ah, Miss Johnson, it's been too long," cooed the sales attendant, fluttering over. "And who is this lovely young thing?" "Danette, my dear," Miss Johnson replied, slipping into the role play with evident relish. "She's new in town and needs a whole new wardrobe, something professional, yet feminine." "Ooh, how thrilling!" exclaimed the attendant, rubbing her hands together in glee. "Well, let's get right to it. Follow me, darling." Thus began my immersion into the world of women's fashion. The attendant, a petite firecracker named Nicolette, swept me away to a fitting room, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Now, sweetheart," she began, her hands on her hips, "what sort of look are we going for? Something classic and conservative, or perhaps a little more flirty and fun?" I looked to Miss Johnson, who gave me an encouraging nod. "Well, I suppose something professional, but with a bit of flair," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "Ooh, a girl after my own heart," Nicolette exclaimed, clapping her hands. She bustled over to a rack of clothing and began pulling out outfits with a speed that made my head spin. "Now let's start with this gorgeous skirt suit. The structure will give you an air of authority, but the fit will show off those curves." She pushed a burgundy skirt suit into my arms, the fabric soft and luxurious. As I held it up, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, already imagining the transformation. "And of course we'll need some blouses," Nicolette continued, piling silk and lace in an array of colors into my arms. "A pop of color against that suit will be simply divine." I fingered the delicate fabrics, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. "What about shoes?" I asked, my voice still soft. "Shoes?" Nicolette trilled, her eyes lighting up. "My dear, for this suit, only a pair of pumps will do. Come with me." She led me to a display of shoes that seemed to reach the ceiling. My eyes widened as I took in the myriad of styles and colors. "Now, for this outfit, I'm thinking a classic pump," Nicolette mused, running her fingers along the shelves. "Give you that extra boost of confidence." She extracted a pair of black stilettos, the heels soaring skyward. "Oh, and these," she added, pulling out a pair of delicate ankle-strap sandals in a soft, blush pink. "Perfect for when you want to feel a little more flirty." I took the shoes from her, my heart racing. I had never imagined myself in such footwear, but somehow, strangely, I wanted them. Miss Johnson stepped forward, taking the shoes from my hands. "Excellent choices, Nicolette. We'll take them." As Nicolette bustled off to retrieve the items in my size, Miss Johnson turned to me, her eyes twinkling. "I know this is a lot to take in, Daniel, but I want you to embrace this side of yourself. Trust me, it will be an experience unlike any other." I nodded slowly, still processing the events of the day. "I'm trying, Miss Johnson. It's just, it's a lot to get used to." She placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "I understand, Daniel, and I promise I'll be here to guide you every step of the way." Nicolette returned with armfuls of clothing, and soon I found myself trying on outfits under her watchful eye. The skirt suit hugged my body in all the right places, accentuating curves I never knew I had. The blouses were silky soft against my skin, and the shoes added a whole new dimension to my stature and posture. "Turn, darling," Nicolette instructed, standing back to admire her handiwork. I did as she bid, catching glimpses of myself in the mirror. I hardly recognized the person looking back at me. The suit flattered my figure, and the heels added a certain swagger to my stride. "Perfection!" Nicolette exclaimed, clapping her hands. "You were made for this, my dear." I blushed at her compliment, a strange warmth spreading through me. Miss Johnson stepped forward, her eyes sparkling with pride. "You look absolutely stunning, Danette. I knew you could pull it off." I stood a little taller, feeling a surge of confidence. "Thank you, Miss Johnson. I'm starting to feel like I can really do this." "Of course you can," she assured me, her voice filled with certainty. "And remember, this is just the beginning. We have a whole new world of experiences ahead of us." The next morning, I rose with a sense of anticipation. The sun streamed through my window, illuminating the new outfits that lay waiting on my bed. I showered and shaved with extra care, taking my time to prepare for the day ahead. As I stepped out of the shower, I reached for the soft, fluffy towel and began to dry myself off. I wrapped it around my waist and paused for a moment, staring at my reflection in the mirror. My heart was pounding in my chest as I realized that today would be the first day living as a woman. I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as I imagined myself walking into the office, my head held high, confident in my new identity. I selected a silk camisole and matching panties, savoring the feel of the delicate fabric against my skin. Slipping them on, I admired the way they clung to my curves, accentuating my waist and hips. Next, I chose a burgundy pencil skirt that hugged my body in all the right places, making me feel powerful and sensual at the same time. Moving to my makeup station, I took a steadying breath. I had practiced the techniques Miss Johnson had taught me over the weekend: contouring, highlighting, and the artful application of eyeshadow and liner. I meticulously applied my foundation, concealer, and powder, blending and buffing until my skin appeared flawless. With a steady hand, I lined my eyes, adding a subtle smoke to accentuate their shape and color. A swipe of mascara lengthened and curled my lashes, making my eyes appear brighter and more vibrant. Lastly, I chose a soft pink lipstick, applying it with precision before blotting it with a tissue to create a natural, just-bitten look. Stepping back, I examined my handiwork. The makeup enhanced my natural features, giving me a polished and sophisticated appearance. A faint smile curved my lips as I imagined the reactions of my colleagues when they saw me. I selected a cream-colored blouse, the silky fabric feeling luxurious against my skin. As I slipped it on, I admired the way it draped over my body, the fabric flowing gracefully. The V neckline dipped just low enough to offer a subtle hint of cleavage, adding a touch of femininity to the ensemble. Turning to my wardrobe, I selected a pair of black patent leather stilettos. As I slipped them on, I felt my legs lengthen, the heels adding a sense of power and elegance to my stance. I paused, surveying my reflection. I felt like a different person. No, not just a person, a woman. I was Danette, a confident and sophisticated woman about to take on the world. Taking a steadying breath, I grabbed my handbag and briefcase and made my way out of my apartment. As I stepped into the elevator, I felt the eyes of the other residents on me. I held my head high, a small smile playing on my lips. I imagined their curiosity and perhaps even their admiration for the unknown, confident woman standing before them. The elevator doors opened to the lobby, and I stepped out, my heels clicking against the tiled floor. As I strode across the marble, I felt empowered. I was no longer the mild-mannered accountant Dan. I was Danette, a force to be reckoned with. As I approached the office building, I felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. I knew that today would be a challenge, but I was determined to face it head-on. I straightened my shoulders and walked through the doors, my head held high. "Good morning, Danette," sang the receptionist, her eyes sparkling with delight. I offered her a bright smile. "Good morning, Angela. How are you today?" "Wonderful! Just wonderful!" she exclaimed, her eyes traveling over my outfit. "You look absolutely fabulous, honey. That color really suits you." I felt a warm glow spread through me at her compliment. "Why, thank you, Angela. That's so kind of you to say." As I made my way to my cubicle, I felt eyes on me. I kept my chin up, a small smile playing on my lips. I knew that my appearance had likely caused a stir, and I found a strange satisfaction in the attention. "Well, well, well," drawled a familiar voice. I turned to see Jim standing behind me, a look of surprise on his face. "Daniel, is that you?" I felt a twinge of nervousness, but I schooled my features into a calm mask. "It's Danette, actually," I replied, extending a manicured hand. "Pleased to meet you." Jim's eyebrows shot up, but he shook my hand nonetheless. "Danette, wow, this is quite a surprise. I mean, you look fantastic, I know," I cut in, feeling a surge of confidence.
"Thank you, Jim."
He sputtered for a moment, clearly taken aback by my assertiveness. "Yeah, fantastic. I mean, it's just, well, it's quite a change." "Change is good, don't you think?" I replied, raising an eyebrow. "Keeps things interesting." Jim seemed at a loss for words, and I couldn't help but feel a small sense of satisfaction. I had always been the quiet, unassuming Dan, but now, as Danette, I felt empowered to speak my mind. "Well, I guess so," he mumbled, running a hand through his hair.
I mean, this is a lot to take in."
"I understand," I said, softening my tone. "It's a lot for me, too. But sometimes you just have to embrace the unexpected, right?" Jim gave me a small smile.
"Yeah, I guess so. Well, welcome to the team, Danette. Or should I say, welcome back."
I returned his smile. "Thank you, Jim. It's good to be here." As I made my way to my cubicle, I felt a sense of triumph. I had faced my first challenge as Danette, and I had come out on top. I knew that there would be more obstacles and curious glances, but I felt ready to take them on. "So, how was it?" Miss Johnson asked, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. We were seated in her office, debriefing after my first day as Danette. "It was certainly an experience," I replied, a small smile playing on my lips as I remembered the looks of surprise and confusion on my colleagues' faces. "I definitely turned a few heads." "I'm sure you did," Miss Johnson said, her voice warm. "And how did that make you feel?" I paused, reflecting on the multitude of emotions I had felt throughout the day. "Empowered, I think," I said slowly, my voice soft. It was almost like I was seeing myself through their eyes, and I liked what I saw. "That's wonderful, Daniel," she said, her eyes shining with pride. "And how did you find the work itself? Did you notice any differences in how you were treated as a woman?" I leaned back in my chair, considering her question.
"It was interesting," I began,
choosing my words carefully.
"I noticed that people seemed to listen more attentively when I spoke. It was like they were hanging on my every word."
Miss Johnson nodded, a knowing smile on her lips.
"That's often the case. As a woman, you have a certain power over men. They're drawn to your beauty and your grace."
As I left her office that evening, I couldn't help but reflect on her words. The power of femininity. It was a concept I had never considered before, but now I could see it in action all around me. As I climbed into bed that night, I knew that my life had changed irrevocably. I could never go back to being Dan, not now that I had experienced the power and beauty of being a woman.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!